completely crazy stuff because I forgot to change the confirmation page. But anyway, you're all here and it's all good. Probably the last email you got, which was 15 minutes prior, it actually said the right thing. So anyway, getting set up and going has kind of been a chore this morning to make sure that I can bring to you the best possible thing here. The webinar today, we're going to be talking about how to dial in your sound of your studio to win more voiceover jobs. It is one of the things I think most people, self included, that I really didn't understand at the beginning of my voiceover career. And it took me some time to actually get to a really clear understanding of what it is that I needed to make sure that I was doing with my sound. I mean, most people are familiar, well, I can't say most people, a lot of people are familiar with, normalizing to -3 dB. I think that's kind of a standard that most people know. Just put in chat, have you heard the -3 dB thing? Just say yes or no. So I'll see kind of and be able to take a poll of who actually has heard those types of things. But most people don't know that there's an actual input level that you need to be reaching. There's an input level for your audio that needs to be met to really be taken seriously. And then over and above that, if you understand the whole -3 dB thing, I'm going to make all of this clear today in regards to what it is you actually need to be doing. Because what happens is, and thanks for letting me know all this. Yep. Okay. All right. So one of the problems, especially when I think back to my early days when I was trying to, like all of us did, we get a mic and and we go join voices.com and we think we're going to get rich, and it doesn't happen, right? And even after you've been in voiceover for a while and you're doing audition after audition after audition, but you're not winning any jobs, no one is, liking or commenting on your auditions or anything like that, and I became severely defeated. I felt like, well, what am I doing wrong here? But here's the thing. It is vitally important. There are 3 things, maybe 4, but I know 3 things that need to happen. The number one thing that has to be on point is your recording environment. If your recording environment is not right, nothing else you do will be right. It is not your microphone that is the most important thing. It is your recording environment. And when I started voiceover, I had no clue about recording environments. I mean, I was recording in an open space in my basement, just concrete walls, no less. And what happens when you record in those types of environments, it's wrong because you're going to get a wrong sound. The reason why is your voice is going to bounce off of the walls. Those sound waves are going to bounce off the walls and they bounce back into the mic. That's why you get that sound like you're talking in a tunnel or something like that, because your recording space is completely off. Completely off. Now, the only thing, what's so great about this is that it's extremely easy to fix your recording environment. It doesn't take a lot to do. The only thing you have to eliminate is hard surfaces surrounding you and above you. That's it. And what I did to eliminate that, and many of you, if you've seen my older YouTube videos and things of that nature, you've seen where I had blankets around me. You probably didn't see what was above me. I think on a couple of videos I actually showed what was above me, but it was comforters and blankets. That's really it. Even recording inside of a clothes closet where there's clothes is going to make your recording environment great. There are people that are doing major work in a clothes closet. There are people doing major work by going up to Home Depot or Lowe's or whatever it is, getting some PVC pipe and making them like a little fort of PVC pipe and draping blankets over it. Literally, all you have to do is eliminate hard surfaces. I cannot say this hard enough, but it is very important that your recording environment does not allow vibrations. You got to get rid of that. And when you do that, you will notice an instant change in your recording. So the number one thing you have to do is be cognizant that your recording environment needs to be soft. How about that? It needs to be soft. Now, above that, yes, then your microphone, you're going to find out that you probably don't have to spend as much money on a microphone to get a good quality sound. I remember when I first started out, I was using a Audio-Technica AT2020. It's one of the things that's in my store that you can see in my VO gear for stepstovoiceoversuccess.com. I used that mic for years until, I wanted to upgrade and get fancier and fancier and do better and do better. And that's what you do. But you don't have to do that at the beginning. You really don't. And once you understand you've got your recording environment set, now you've got a decent XLR microphone. And let me just see how many people on here, just type in the chat, are you using an XLR mic or a USB mic? And if you're using an XLR mic, also say XLR dynamic or XLR condenser. Let me know what it is that you're using. You can even just put the name brand of your microphone to let me know what it is that you're using. Douglas is asking about what about the stand mounted vocal booths you can buy. I don't waste my time with that. It's almost like they're a waste of time. They're a waste of time. Just get yourself, if you want to get real fancy, there are actual acoustic blankets that you can go in and buy on Amazon. I've got some in my store on Amazon as well. Okay, a lot of people are using XLR, which is great. XLR dynamic, awesome. Some of the things that I'm going to show you today, and it's kind of why I put out in the video, if you're using a USB mic, you guys got some great mics out here, by the way. I'm looking at all the stuff coming in. These are great mics. A USB mic is not as conducive to what it is that I'm about to train you on. And it's kind of the reason why I posted some of the things below this video that you can see as far as interfaces to use, because these are your lifeblood, really. So if you're using a USB mic, no problem with that. But what I'm about to show you is not for USB mic guys and gals. It's not. This is a level up. This is a step up to you actually being able to control your sound. USB mics do not allow you to control your sound. It is what it is. You can look at some things, and maybe if you kind of finagle some things, you might be able to do this. But when I was talking about the issue with not winning jobs, because either you're not in a right recording environment, you don't have the right input levels going in, and you don't understand how to normalize to -3 dB. You may understand how to easily, especially if you're using something like Adobe Audition or even Audacity, to normalize to -3 dB is pretty much just a button click. But if your input levels are off, if your input levels are wrong, you normalizing to -3 dB just expounds the wrongness of what it is that you're doing. Yes, the Focus 2i2, love that. 18i8, I just sold my 18i8 actually because I got a brand new interface, and I'll show you guys some of that stuff. But what I want to do here is I want to show you some things, especially for you ladies and gentlemen that really want to understand how to get good sound. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to play this, and I'm going to talk over what you're seeing. All right, so this is if you're using a mixer and you're noticing the lights that are on the screen there. Green is good, yellow is okay, but red is bad. When you can stay in the green level and you're using something like a mixer, like you see me here, it's just an Alesis mixer. This is the type of input levels that you want to have in the green. If you go red, it's wrong. Now here's my Focusrite Scarlett, and green again is good. Make sure if you're using a condenser mic, you've got that 48 volt phantom power pressed. If you're using a dynamic mic, you don't need that. You never want to see red. If you're seeing red, like you're seeing now, you're clipping. So the thing that you want to be cognizant of, green is good. Don't be scared of the yellow, but green is good. Now, what I'm going to show you here as well with all of this is the actual interface that I use, which is an Apollo Twin Duo. Love this thing. Again, green is good, yellow is okay, red is bad. So with all of this being said, you can look at the yellow as kind of like a buffer between green and red. So if you're in the yellow, it's okay. Don't stress out about that. But just know that if you're hitting yellow, you're maybe about to hit red. And so, how do you take a look at all of these things and put these things together to make sure that you have the right input levels? Now, I'm going to show you a little video here, and we're going to try and see this. And let me know if you can actually hear this or not. Let's see. We want to turn this off, turn this on. And I think this is the one that we want to show. All right. Let me know if you can hear what's being said here. As quickly as you can, let me know if you can hear what's being said. Okay, as I'm doing this recording, I want to make sure that I've got a nice looking wave pattern, which this looks really good. The wave pattern that I'm seeing looks really good. But what we want to pay attention to is the input levels, which are down below. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop this recording. So let's stop that, and let's go back to the beginning and take a listen to this and also check out the meter readings. Okay, so you guys can't see this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back. Oh, you can hear. Okay. Okay, so this is pretty consistent across the board. And what we want to make sure that we take a look at, again, is the meter readings. And those meter readings, I'm going to start playing this again and try and talk over this a bit. You want those meter readings to be between negative 12 and negative 6 dB. That is your target range for input. Negative 12 to negative 6. And when you can play an audio file and you see it that way, that means you're right on point. So why does this make such a difference with, why is this so important to have this at negative 12 to negative 6 input level? Okay, so this is what's important. So, all right, so you saw that. What I want you to make sure that you're cognizant of, this is important, the input levels that you have on your audio. You want your input levels to consistently be between the negative 6 and the negative 12 dB range, like you just saw in my meter readings. Did everyone see that and understand that clearly? Just let me know that in the chat. Yeah, I got it, Earl. Or no, I don't understand. But I'm going to explain this a little bit more because this is key. This is key. You have basically 6 dB range that you want your voice in, and that's between negative 12 and negative 6 dB. This is where your input levels should be. And when I say your input levels, I'm not talking about after processing or after anything. I'm talking about as you're making the recording. No processing is done yet at all. You want your recording to be in between negative 12 and negative 6 dB. This is the standard. This is also one of the reasons why you're not getting jobs, because you're not adhering to the standard. Most of us have tried to adhere to the standard of the negative 3 dB in the basically in the normalization, but the input level, no one is paying attention to. But guess who is paying attention to it? The engineer that's listening to your audition. That's who's listening to it. I'm going to tell you some more frightening things in a moment here about those engineers that are listening to your stuff on the pay-to-plays and some of the other things that are out there. So now you've got this set to your between negative 12 and negative 6 dB. The reason why you want that is because of this thing that's called headroom. Because between negative 6 and negative 3 dB, and I'm going to play this again, but I'm not going to have any sound on it, but I'm going to talk over it. So let's do this again, but I'm not going to add sound to it. All right, so again, what you're seeing here is I obviously use Adobe Audition. And so I'm hitting record on this. And what I want to do is after I do the recording, I want to play this back. And I want to look at exactly what my decibel level is. I want to make sure that I'm in the range of this recording between negative -12 and -6 dB. I cannot express to you how vitally important this is. So as I'm hitting play on this, you're going to see the levels, and it's going to show you that through the entire conversation or the entire talk, you can see my little meters at the bottom. It's between -12 and -6. And that's where you want it. If sometimes it drops down a little bit below -12, it's okay. If it goes a little bit beyond -6, you want to watch it. But you want to have a consistent sound here of what it is that your input levels are for your microphone. Now, I was talking about the headroom, because when you do this and you've got it between the -12 and the -6, now when you normalize it to -3, you've got room to play. And above and beyond that, if you're sending it off to someone else, they still have room to play between -3 and 0 if they want to bump it up. Because that's the important thing. When you're giving your audio off to someone else, you want to make sure that they've got some room to play. That's important. And so what happens is, and the reason why you're not getting consistent jobs, potentially one of the reasons why you're not getting consistent jobs, is because when an engineer, let me just tell you this, you've got 3 to 5 seconds. That's it. The engineer will open up your audio in their DAW, and guess what they're looking at? They're looking at your levels, as well as hearing or listening. And if you're not falling in that range, they don't even listen to anymore. They've already seen you don't know what you're doing. And if they've got a project that they need to get done, they need to know that you understand how to do these basic things with your input levels and your output levels. Your input level is -12 to -6 dB. Your output level is normalized to -3. That's the output that you want. Also, here comes into play, because as soon as you start adding on compression, as soon as you start adding on EQ, all these other things, you've got to look at your output levels. Are you going beyond the -3? You've got to be able to look at that, and you've got to be able to master that. John is asking, how do we get that without sound floor coming up too high? That's where the recording space comes into play. If you're recording in a noisy area, there is nothing to tell you about that. You've got to get your recording space under control, period. If you cannot control the sounds that are coming in, you're going to lose. Now, you can cancel out some of that rumble and EQ, or by rolling off the bass or rolling off the low end, you can get rid of a bunch of that rumble that's there. This is why I've said for years now, as a voice actor, if you are not also a learned audio engineer, you're not going to win in this game. Because I've said over and over, the home studio is the future. They expect us to know not only how to voice, but obviously how to produce the audio the way that it needs to be produced. You don't have to have a whisper room like I do. You don't. Excuse me. But you do need to understand how to control your audio. And again, you've only got 3 to 5 seconds. That's it. And what happens, unfortunately, is if you've done a lot of auditions and, people aren't responding to your auditions, you've got in their radar. And if they see you over and over again, this person doesn't know what they're doing. I'm not even listening. But they delete it before they even listen to it. This is so vitally important about the input levels. It is so important about these input levels and these output levels that most people are ignoring, or they don't have a good understanding of how to do it. Deloria is asking, I have to use my USB mic for now. What can I do? I don't know what to tell you, because even, to be quite honest, when I did the video for the webinar, I even said this is not for people that are using USB mics. It's not. And because there is no way to control the sound. Now, even though I say that, there are some USBs like the Apogee mics that work well because you can control the input. I mean, if you've got a knob on your USB mic, Maybe you can do something with that. But what I'm talking about is you leveling up your voiceover career, going from beginner to pro. And in order to do that, and I'm going to show this video once again, and below this video, below the webinar, I've got some links to some stuff, especially audio interfaces. And now that we know how to use them, it should make a difference now that we know how to use them. I showed this video before. If you're using a mixer, again, you just want to make sure that your levels are within the green. And sometimes, depending on the mixer, it could get a little confusing because you might look like you're clipping on your mixer, but in the DAW, it's not clipping. And so that makes a difference, right? And so, I mean, I use a mixer for my radio broadcast every morning, but one of the best investments that I made was in my Focusrite Scarlett. To be able to look at that color knob and know that I'm on point is golden. It's golden. To be able to shift that knob, know that red is wrong, green is good. Yellow, don't trip out over the yellow. You just want to make sure that when you're tuning this stuff in, that you are actually able to get that input level of -12 to -6 dB. This is vital. I upgraded my studio. I got rid of everything that I had in my studio. Now I'm using this Apollo Twin. It is amazing. Yes, it's pricey. If you want the big boy, it's about $900. But there is an Apollo Twin that I have listed as well right below this video that you can see is, what is it? I think it's probably less than $800, less than $600, I believe, with that. But even if you're using a PreSonus, anything that's going to give you some sort of indication of your input levels, that's what you want to have. That's what you want to have. So let's see here. Let me take a look at some of the questions that are coming in behind this. Let's see here. Yeah, the ceiling, John. Yeah, it is important. All around, you want to be surrounded above by soft surfaces and on the sides of you with that. Let's see what else. Michael, to clarify, if compression or EQ brings levels past acceptable levels, i.e. clipping, normalizing will not fix it. No. Not unless there are ways, but they're more technical ways that I'm not going to go into now because they're just too technical. You want to make sure, it's kind of like any computer system. If you ever took programming in school, it's like junk in, you're going to get junk out. You want your recording levels to be spot on. At the beginning, you don't ever want to have to fix. That's the thing. You don't want to have to fix in post because what you put in there, that should be just spot on. And then after you know that you're between -12 and -6 dB, then you can go in and start adding things like compression. You can start adding things like EQ and all of that. And that, as you're doing that, even you want those levels to not go beyond -6 dB. You don't want it to go beyond that because now you're going to be normalizing to -3. And just look at it this way. You want those levels to be between -6 and -12 so that you can play with it and not clip it. That's the thing. And so now when you've added your EQ and your compression or whatever else you're putting onto your voice, and by the way, most people overprocess. Most people overprocess. And this is why it'll help you if you're able to know, okay, if I keep it between -12 and -6, I'm going to be okay. And then once you're done, complete, you've put all your processing in your chain or your rack or whatever, and you've applied that, and you can play it, and now it's still between -12 and -6. Now when you normalize it, it's just going to sound that much better because it's going to bump it up to -3. You understand? You want to get all of your stuff done within that range of -12 to -6. All right. Earl, I've set up a small space surrounded with foam panels. Does the chaotic eyeball help? A lot of different schools of thought on that. You guys can see I've got a couple eyeballs back here. I've got a chaotic eyeball as well as, what's that other thing called? Yeah, the Altron PF8. They're sitting there because I don't use them anymore. I've reviewed both of them on my YouTube channel before, And you may be able to get some help by using those things. But again, that environment. And here's the thing, everything is a test because no one has the same environment you have. Like, it doesn't make sense for people to copy other people's settings for things because no two environments are the same, no two mics are the same, and especially no two voices are the same. So if you want to test out a PF8, if you want to test out a eyeball, test it out and see what you think it makes your environment sound like. That's the best I can do with that one because I cannot tell you it's going to work. Can't do it. All right. 5-sided booth with RLX, nice carpet on the floor. Awesome. Can you speak to the difference between the lower priced audio interface to say the Apollo, or did you notice? Okay. There is no comparison to my Apollo. There is no comparison to the Apollo, to a mixer, to a Focusrite. There is no comparison to this piece of gear. It isn't. Immediately upon plugging everything up, my sound was so much better. I was listening to myself. I'm like, what was I doing before? Now, I was making money before, but this piece of gear just leveled me up. And that's what I look to do every year. That's why I spent the $900 on this piece of gear, because it took away, I was using, I had my Focusrite 18i8. I had my DBX's 286s. All of that is gone. I use one piece of gear for everything. The thing about the Apollo Twin or any of the Apollo products, the reason why they're so amazing is because all of the processing is done inside of the Apollo. It does not use any of your system resources. And so it works a lot faster, and there is no latency or anything going on with this. And it has plugins inside of the Apollo. It's got my EQ, it's got my compression, it's got everything I want. Now, let me tell you this. I worked with, this past week, Tim Tippett. Look him up. I got in the booth. Tim is an audio engineer, best I've ever known. He took my screen over as I'm in the booth. He's setting up my Apollo specifically for my booth and my mic because that's what he does. He's done it for the top of the top people in this business. And he's not cheap, but I'm leveling up, right? So I paid him to help me set this up. And I mean, the sound that I have from my booth, my microphone, and this piece of gear is phenomenal. There is no comparison. I'm telling you this right now. There is no comparison. If you want to get the best of the best, go with Apollo. You can get the one that is, if you look below, like the Universal Audio Aero, if you look right below this webinar, that's an amazing piece of gear. Actually, Tim said you could have gotten away with that, but I got the big boy because I was leveling up. I don't know what's going to be coming in the future, so I wanted to make sure that I had the best. That's it. And the Apollo is the best. Enough said on that, right? What you want to do when you're especially looking at gear from Apollo, you want to make sure that you get the one that works for your machine. Like I have a Mac, so I got the one with the Firewire for the Mac. There are USB versions, but if you're getting a USB version, you need to have an up-to-date computer because you must have USB 3 capability, like the newest ones. So if you've got a computer that's 5 years older, probably won't work. But if you've got a brand new system within the past year, it's probably got what you need. So when you're ordering an Apollo or any interface, just make sure you're getting the right one for the type of machine that you use. All right. Yeah, the Apollo it's great. Let's see. Maximus Black is saying, I also bought the Apollo MK2. It's incredible. Preamps, yeah, absolutely clean. Absolutely clean. Callan is saying, what do you think about the Presonus Quantum 2? I've never used a Presonus myself. I've only used Focusrite and now the Apollo. Now, I've used the Focusrite 2i2 as well as the Solo, and I've also used the Focusrite 18i8. So, but I actually just sold all that stuff. I just sold on eBay last weekend. I sold my 18i8 from Focusrite because I got the Apollo, and this is the only piece of gear I need is this Apollo because everything is in here from my plugins to everything else. All right, we're coming up on, I think, some time here. So what's going to happen, you guys are going to have an opportunity to work with me. If you would like me to help you set up your recording space, your input-output levels, your plugins that you're using, whether you're using Adobe Audition or whether you're using Audacity or whatever it is that you're using, we can set up some time where we'll be able to do that. And I'm thinking something should be popping up on the screen here. I'm not sure because we're right at the 30-minute mark. But let me answer some questions here for you guys while you're still here. Do you think, okay, I already answered that one. Big Boy MK2 is better than the older version because it has the updated pre's. Yeah. Do you still use your DBX? No, I don't. And the reason that I used to use my DBX, really, it was before I got my booth. After I got my booth, I disconnected my DBXs. And I'm looking at, I have 3 of them still in a rack under my table here, which I'm about to put on eBay. I'm about to get rid of all of my DBXs. So, but no, the reason that I used the DBX was basically to take out background noise. That's what I use the DBX for. And since I don't have that issue because I have a booth, is why I don't use the DBX anymore. So that's what's there. All right. So let me just do a little, I think I'm going to have to pop something into chat potentially here. Yeah, because I didn't put this on here and for some reason it's not popping up. Oh, you're more than welcome, John. I'm glad to be here for you guys. This is what you can do. If you would like to set up an appointment with me so that I can help you set your studio up appropriately with your input levels, output levels, your environment, as well as your plugins to show you how to really use them and the plugins that you probably ought to be using, what I want you to do is shoot me an email over to earl@earlhallstudio.com. That is the email address that you can use, and we can set that up. I was wishing I had, give me a few minutes here. Give me just a minute here, and I think I can actually put a link to that so that you can set that up with me right now and actually get on my calendar. I thought that there was supposed to be something that would pop up here at the 30-minute mark, but it did not pop up. So I'm going to have to go ahead and give you the direct link. Let me know in the comments, the information that I've given you here today, has it been worth your time? Yes or no? Has this been actually worth your time? Because I want to know that I'm bringing you value, or if I'm not. And if I'm not, then I need to step my game up yet once again on this. All right, so now that I'm putting the link in the chat here. And if you want to go ahead and register, you can do that. And you can register to set up a time with me. You'll get on my calendar, and we can go ahead and set you up with what it is that you need. Obviously, you're going to have a XLR microphone and some sort of interface that will give you these indicators, like I'm saying. Thank you so much. I appreciate you guys so very, very much. I'm putting in the chat once again the link if you want to set up some time with me to be able to set up your studio and make sure that you're set up appropriately. So I just put that link in there again. Thank you so much. All of you guys are so great. I absolutely love you guys. And I do the best that I can. I remember what it was like for me when I began not having someone that I could just go to and talk to. I mean, well, we're talking about over a decade ago, so no one was really doing things on YouTube. YouTube just started about a decade ago, right? So I want to thank you guys so much. And once again, I'm putting this link here in the comment section or in the chat section, so you can see that from Earl Hall Studio. Just click that link and you can set up your time with me. I guess I'm going to have to figure out my webinar platform because something was supposed to pop up and it didn't. Excuse me. So what I'll do is I'll hang out here for a few more minutes. If you guys have questions, I want you to go ahead and ask me your questions now. and let's see if we can get you a little bit further down the field. If you don't have any questions, that's fine. But I wanted to do this free webinar to give you this. I mean, it seems so simple, right? It seems so simple, but most people have never heard what I've said in this. Most people have never heard just a simple input level thing about -12 to -6 dB. No one has ever heard that. I hadn't. And it's like when you hear these things, it's like, this is why so many people are not winning jobs. Because when you audition, you're auditioning with people that know this stuff. They know this. And an engineer is not going to waste their time because they're going to feel like, well, if they don't know this, how can I trust them to do a big job? They don't even know their input levels. All right. Thanks so much, Tom. I appreciate that, man. And Kevin, so much. Let's see, Earl, I have USB. Currently haven't been able to afford to upgrade XLR yet after I get my tax refund. Whatever it takes, man. I mean, if this is your passion, basically I say to people all the time, you'll do what it takes. Just pop that link in there again if you want to schedule some time with me. Michael, Earl, do you have any advice for reducing or eliminating outside sounds such as traffic noise? Move. That's one of those questions where, again, when you cannot control your recording environment, there's nothing to do. You either have to wait till it's late at night, and I've been there. So, you have to wait till it's late at night so you can record, so you're not worried about the traffic, or you're going to have to find a way to soundproof, or you're going to have to put roadblocks on your road so traffic cannot come. It's like you have to get under control. You can only control what you can control. When you say normalize, what's that? I also use Adobe Audition. Normalize. Okay. Wow. All right. Normalizing to -3 dB. When you go in Adobe Audition and you look under favorites, you'll see one of your favorites says normalized -3 dB. That's what I'm talking about. And basically you highlight your entire waveform and then you just go and click that says, you just normalize it, and then you apply it or whatever. So that's what I mean when I say normalize. Earl, do you still put VO scripts for individuals together? And what do you need to know, if any, for your VO script? I don't, Maxwell, I'm sorry. I don't write scripts anymore for folks because it's one of those things where if you've watched anything that I've done before, it's so super simple to do. So it's not something that I do anymore. One, because I don't want to, and I just don't like doing it. So I don't do it anymore. Let's see. John Earl McLeod, normalize should be under your effects tab. Yeah, it's under the effects tab as well as your favorites tab. Tyrone, should VO artists skip Audacity and use Adobe Audition? My thing is, I have used Audacity and I've used Adobe Audition. I will never go back to Audacity because of the power in Adobe Audition. There is no comparison, but also there's nothing wrong with using Audacity. The workflow in Adobe Audition is just much faster. It's just much faster, and you've got more things that you're able to control. One of the things, and I'll tell you this about Adobe Audition, you know how when you're putting together a commercial and you're trying to put music with it? Well, in Adobe Audition, you can literally say, you can record your voice and tell Adobe Audition this is dialogue, and then you can import your music, tell Adobe Audition this is music, and you want to basically duck it under your voice, and it does it for you automatically. Also, you know how when you're doing a 30-second or a 60-second commercial, of course the music is not 30 or 60 seconds. It's normally longer than that. In Adobe Audition, you can remix any song without vocals to an exact time frame. So if you download some music and it's 3 minutes long, you can remix. Adobe Audition will remix the whole thing for you and make it exactly 60 seconds, and it's perfect. I know you don't believe me, but it is. That's literally what the power that I just told you of Adobe Audition. Just one of the things. All right. Let's see here. Okay, JT's looking for a house now. No neighbors. Yeah, noisy neighbors. Earl, no one that could help me set up my Reaper DAW. Reaper, there's who's the guy that does Reaper? Is that Booth Junkie? Is that Booth Junkie? I think the Booth Junkie is the guy that uses Reaper. But just go on like YouTube and look up how to set up Reaper. And you're going to see all the guys and gals that use Reaper, and you're going to get a ton of information through that. All right. Let's see. Let's see. And by the way, and so I'm looking at Kevin, I agree with you. Tyrone, I've been using Audacity from the beginning and love it. Audition is great, but no time for a new DAW learning curve. That's important too, because the best DAW for you to use is the DAW that you know and love. Period. All right. Yes, for the 30-second clips, you can increase. It'll remix those too. It does it all. Brian, put that question in there. Booth Junkie does Reaper. All right, I'm going to post this link in here one more time because my little thing didn't come up again in regards to how you guys can work with me directly if you wish to. I'm hoping that the information I gave you today is extremely beneficial and you can just go to the races with it. But if you know you're going to struggle, we can take, 30 minutes to an hour, and I can get you ready in 30 minutes to an hour, period, with your sound. All right, so I'm going to pop this link in here one last time. If you guys want to set up some time to work with me directly, you can do that, and we can get your sound going and popping. All right, so thanks so much, guys. I knew this was going to be a shorter webinar, but thank you so much for being here, for registering, and everything else. It means the world to me that you guys, are in my tribe, in my camp. Love all of you guys, and I'm just here to make sure that I can give you the information that is going to get you to a place that's going to be better from where you were in regards to your voiceover career. So if you're ready and you want to work with me, go ahead and click that link that I just posted again. And hey, you guys are awesome. Have a great rest of your weekend as I'm sitting here looking for my buttons to press to stop the webinar. But thank you much for being here. Love you guys. Have a great weekend. Bye now.